No one knows more about defense than Tom Thibodeau. So when James Harden is going the way he was going, we'll start there. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with that guy?
Well, I think anytime you go against a player like that, and there's very few that are like that, you go into the game, you have to have special rules for special players. So he has the capability of going on huge runs like that, and they do a great job of creating mismatches. They're going to bring up the worst defender, try to force the switch. Then you have to have your plan in place. What are you going to do if they force you into the switch or if he gets going on the pick and roll? So obviously you have to go to more traps, and when he gives the ball up, you got to make sure he doesn't get it back. But it's a lot easier said than done, and he's got such great vision to make plays. But you'd rather have someone else making those shots.
Steve, you played forever in the NBA, and you played with a bunch of guys, including Kobe Bryant. Where would you put James Harden on the list of just pure scorers of guys you've been around and you've seen in this game?
Well, he's one of the best ever, really. I mean, you see the way he's going one-on-one. You almost wish they would bring a pick and roll as a defensive team so you have an extra defender there. But they're just isoing him. His step backs is as good as any I've ever seen. And Coach D'Antoni does a great job of spacing the floor for him to go to work.
And so then, Sean, we look at them in general, we see them, and then we see the Warriors. And you made the point, the Warriors lose a game to Orlando last night. It's a surprise, but Steve Kerr is basically making the point, look, this thing is a marathon. We're trying to win our third straight championship. Yes. A game at the end of February in Orlando is really not that significant to us. Do you see anything in Golden State that gives you concern for when this thing starts to really matter?
No, because I think their level of efficiency and what their expectation level is now is one of those where it's like, okay, the regular season is the regular season. We're just focused on what we're going to accomplish when we go after the main prize. And they have all the pieces there. I think they've been really smart with their roster management. I think that when you look at this team, even with the talent pieces, look, let's not feel sorry because Kevin Durant wasn't available last night. They still had some talent out on the floor.
Well,
all right.
He's all right.
Like, I mean, there is something to be said there, but it's cruise control right now.
Well, that's another thing you said to me this morning is the addition of DeMarcus Cousins. Some nights it seems like a big deal during the regular season, but I know you believe when they get to the playoffs, that is an enormous factor.
And there's no question. I think, and you hit it right on the head. When you look at what they're doing, 2 games ago they rested Cousins. Last night they rest Durant. The last 20, that's what they're doing. They're resting their players to make sure they're fresh and healthy. Really, the only thing that could slow them down is an injury. And I think Steve Kerr and Bob Myers, they understand that. And then they have to get Boogie acclimated to their system. But when you have to coach against Cousins, you have to spend a lot of time game planning. And that's going to be a huge factor for them in the playoffs. And, of course, when you add that to Steph and Clay and Kevin Durant, and then you can't overlook Draymond. Draymond is the most unique player in the league.
I get it that it is a marathon and not a sprint, but with the Warriors, is there anything that other Western Conference teams can learn about what's happened with them in this stretch where they have been losing some games?
Well, the teams will just have to be studying a lot of film, seeing what's working. I mean, but they can come at you from so many different angles. It's going to be really hard to really game plan and really find something.
Why are you laughing, Coach? As soon as he said that, Tom starts laughing. Well, what are you laughing?
And I think the biggest challenge, and they're not playing defense like they have in the past, and that's but they've just played 2 months of great basketball.
Yeah. Right.
And so I don't think you can overlook that. And I would say their chances of winning last night would be far greater if Durant does play. So maybe food poisoning for Durant would be good or something like that.
Send him to a bad restaurant.
But they're such a special team. They have too many weapons.